Okay, that's good.
And
Thanks.
remember that energy is defined by its absence, not its presence. And I'll talk to you later, my man.
And the presence of energy is just leaving the room. Well, tell you what, thanks to Jason, we're back and grooving, and I hope that indeed we gave the answers so far as um, probably due to our energy that actually we're getting those gifts that the equipment is yielding and reaching for. Okay, because I have some music here, I'll say. So yeah, the just to mention that we're sitting here on the Monday morning, July 22nd, year 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. 80, yeah, oh my God. And we're continuing with that concept and enhancing and fortifying this concept as we learn from you by setting the example, because rightfully so, it deserves that an acknowledgement to maintain the height that it so comfortably resides on and upon which it gravitates, and it actually becomes familiar with the options that are available, and suddenly there's a sense of relief, and then we want to take this sense of relief and give it, you know, a, a stamp of I don't know if there's a word in English that says permanency, uh, that which that which is permanent, and giving us the indication that indeed we're doing something right. And maintenance is the name of the game in the face of all the awkward and weird things that's surrounding us, where we find ourselves dumbfounded in the face of intense desire for clarity. Very clear and rested in the face of exhaustion, and very focus minded in the face of that which is projects the sensation of disarray, and always counting the pieces that are missing, and trying to retract the conclusion that took this innocent, good-looking, delicious entity and splattered it into pieces, and without any consideration of the difficulty to try and put it back later on, if and when we desire to, and usually we will be desiring to actually say, okay, what did we do? We shouldn't have done that. And then when you go out there and venturing to gather all the pieces that were dispersed into and bring it back to join the original whole. Learning that indeed that's not as easy. Well, we didn't give it thought at all, so it's not like we thought about it and we said, "Oh, we'll take care of it." We didn't even know that it wasn't that would be an issue. The difficulty to retrace, because at first sight we couldn't tell the level of its sophistication and how easy or difficult it is or will be to put it together once we kind of use it and abuse it and throw it away or whatever. Forget about that. I mean, to begin with, if we'll be able to find it, forget about the broken pieces. That in itself is a challenge to bring it into the whole. But to find it, where's the location? Where is it exactly? So then there's some people who would spend a whole lifetime just looking for it, until, and so much so that they won't even remember what it is that they're looking for. I mean, it's kind of comic and sad. It's sad because the human psyche is suffering from that kind of level of shallowness, where we miss out on all these wonderful opportunities to gravitate together with the concept that is so full of promise. And of course, that's the reflection of who we are also, and that's another part and phase of of us not being aware to what extent we we are that we in our actions worth. Now, when they say, what is it that they say about um, um, putting yourself first, and maybe deciding that it's okay to take care of yourself. and to pay attention to yourself, in to speak for you about you in the name of who you are and giving you the license to talk about you. And uh, and sometimes we mix it up with thinking that there is a problem. Again, it's all about not knowing better and then coming up with the conclusion, mistaken conclusion about narcissism, for example. I remember that once early on, when I was in my late 30s, and I would engage in this kind of exciting, at least exciting for me, conversations with people. It would be like people would find themselves approaching me and telling me, "Well, you're quite a narcissistic guy," and so for a while I wasn't sure whether I should be indulging in thinking that it's a compliment or thinking that it's an insult. But quickly enough, I utilized my technique when it comes to just about anything and everything in life. I just let it ride the storm. I let it ride the storm for me. I will never ride the storm together with it. I'm too smart to find myself there. If there's a storm there, I'm here. If there's a storm here, I'm there to begin with. Why? Because I paid a dear price already by thinking, guessing, contemplating, all these maybes and almost, and think that you want to express to the world this is out of love. You want to express this is out of love. And then there's a commotion everywhere, and the people are people. And then you just want to keep on saying, this is for the sake of love. This is out of love. This is out of love. And why are you doing it? This is out of love. Who are you doing it for? Out of love for love itself, for the sake of love itself. And then you keep on repeating the word love, love, love until you realize that there's some kind of, it doesn't take much to exhaust the concept that speaks in the name of love, that happens to be love itself. Isn't it like, doesn't it supposed to teach us a lesson, an important lesson? I don't quite know what the lesson is, but I know that there is one, and I'm sure that it happens to be an important one. So you know what? I don't care how long it takes. I'm kind of on a mode that happens to be a constant constant search, and it brings me joy as long as I know that this mode is active. I know that the search is really only an excuse for search itself to support the concept of the necessity for searching in order to find uh, find a way to change, and find a way to change, meaning that you have to come to terms with uh, your understanding and you accepting what change is all about, and figuring it out that you have within you to engage at least deep enough and long enough and strong enough so it will hold water, so it gives you a chance to a permit to enter the race, to enter the motion forward reality, because some of it they won't even let you in. They say, well, you're showing goodwill, you're showing, but when you look at the whole picture together, you're not ready. Sorry. Try again later. So to begin with, someone says, almost like a couple. They were together for 10, 15 years, and they were in the late 20s. And suddenly, oops, the woman is in late 30s and the guy's early 40s. And they said, yes, of course, we're going to have kids. And then, of course, 10 years later, if they're lucky, they might have one. And even that one was with a heavy duty price to be paid. Why? Because we want to just think that when we think and feel that God is on our side, it doesn't mean that we get a free ride. It doesn't mean that we're just floating on cloud nine. It doesn't mean that we're just like weightless and worryless and everything is going to just be fine. And even if it's not fine now, you see that intersection there that is visible? From here, we'll reach it shortly, and then we'll just go back to square one of that freedom, self-sufficiency, and just the desire and the capability to cope with that desire, and everything fits, and everything is really happening the way it's supposed to happen, and it's very satisfying, and it's very anything good by nature that you can think of combined. That's what it is. And in this more point, maybe I should call my friend um, uh, Greg Sullivan, a great guy, also a producer at LTV, and now and then I'm getting him to join me on a phone. I shouldn't say interview, but just on a phone call, and let's see if that's happening. Yeah, hold on one second. I just want to put you on the air one second. Here we go. Yeah, are you there?
Yes. Hi,
Oh,
good morning.
yeah. I had an issue with the podcast room. It was like recording and stopping and this and that. So Jason just fixed it up. So I've been for 10 minutes hammering the issue of how when we try so hard to introduce the word love in different connotations, like my answer would be, it's out of love, it's for the sake of love, and and then when you say love, 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 love that many times, suddenly it becomes a nuisance. It becomes, oh, it bothers me, or it becomes, it's annoying, how quickly the essence of love and what love stands for can find itself completely grinded to the bare bone, uh, so not about the fact that it potentially can happen, but so quickly that it happens, you know. So I was amazed with myself contemplating about the questions of that you would hear yourself asking yourself: Why am I doing this? For whom? And how come? And how long is it going to last? What's my drive? What's justifying it? And then when you get to that, and then you say it's out of love, it's out of love, it's out of love, it's out of love, and then you say stuff, oh well, okay, 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 I had enough, okay, I had enough with love. So it saddens me to think that I can arrive to this conclusion, so to speak, or this peak of overwhelmingness that I say, okay, okay, enough with love, enough with love. That saddens me. Anyway, good morning to you.
Listen, good morning. Yeah, yeah. Well, I love you, Time. When you say I love you, that I mean, just right there. I love you, and sometimes you say it as a salutation, but it's like, oh, how many different ways can you say I love you, and then to say, look, I really love you, and what does it really mean? And then that phrase, what the world needs now, that song, what the world needs now is love, and then all you need is love. You hear that all over. How many songs have had that in it? But then, what does it really mean? What are you really saying? What the world needs now is, I think what the world needs now is compassion. I think compassion gets replaced. You can replace love with compassion in so many uses of the word love, where it would actually have a better meaning and more clear for you. What the world needs now is compassion, for everybody to be compassionate with each other. But that's included in love. But when
Yeah,
you just say
exactly. That's
love, love,
the
love, love, after a while, it's like, what? Okay, what?
components of love, definitely.
Yeah.
But also in the same token, it's just like when if you were to ask me what kind of an artist I am, and I was to say mainly abstract expressionist, of course with a dash of impressionism and modernism, and obviously there's something controversial, uh, um, uh, old-fashioned, controversial, that's mixed with the new age kind of thing in the face of the that which is conservative in the abstract expressionist and impressionist approach, mixed with the a modernistic touch. So it's very confusing to think about all that. But I would always add that I never come to abstract expressionism out of and through abstract. I would come out of a concept that has nothing to do with it, but later on you find out that it has everything to do with it. So, but it liberates you from the fact that you need to deal with something. Abstract expressionism is very straightforward, but it can be very puzzling and very challenging, and it doesn't immediately shows its face. Because you can start and suddenly you realize you're in for the long haul, and it's a little too much from what you bargained for or hoping to bargain for. So that's why I will come from like the subject matter. I would come the subject matter that is governed by a technique that will shelter me at any given time. So if I'm under attack, I'm going back to that shelter that I know for sure that I will be saved there. My life will be spared. or something like that. So
Your life would be spared. But Haim, you are the only person in the entire world that could get away with saying that anything abstract, like abstract expressionism, is straightforward.
yes,
If it's abstract, it can't be straightforward. But you can get away with saying that because actually it kind of makes sense coming from you. That abstract expressionism is pretty straightforward.
yeah, and also if they were to teach you at art, but that's a good point that you raised. If they were to teach you at art immediately and first of all aggressively, that everything is straightforward when it comes to art. Now, straightforward is a cliche slogan, you know. It's unless it's within context and you can make an argument for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my argument would be like straightforward, meaning going back to basics. If you're a drummer and you're in trouble, and you're sitting with some absolutely sophisticated individuals, and you realize that the level that they're introducing is nothing like yours, you realize you're in trouble, but you have an option to go back to square one, to the basics, and you know that you cannot fail there. So what you do is you introduce your basics flawlessly, immaculately, and it and their level of sophistication and the flawlessness of their sophistication cannot argue with the flawlessness of something that's supposedly inferior to it. Because it's not about what it is inferior to, but it's about the flawlessness or lack of flawlessness. That's what it's all about. So even if you're straightforward, down to earth, very, very, very basic, but you're flawless and fluent, then the higher order of any other concept for that sake is very compatible with it, and vice versa. It is compatible with it too. So that's the point. And when I say straightforward, I mean this is my face expression for this occasion, and I'm so good at it that no matter what you do, my face expression will not change. So you're not going to suddenly see something that you will mistake it for a mask, because it's not a mask, but because you wouldn't know much as the person that is actually practicing it and going through it, you would think it was a mask, and then therefore you'll interpret that this individual is a fake. You know what I mean? It's like, so straightforward is actually keeping a straight face through the process. Now, if you can do that, you're on top of the world.
You got it made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So what I know that you like have 105 different projects, and for some reason you managed to be in 79 of them at the same time.
Yeah. There's a little wizardry I call, here, there, everywhere. Well, look, but you were on, you were on all over the place this weekend. I saw you in a couple of places, but also it was like, what was it, last night? But or was it 2 nights ago? You had like 3 shows on in a row with a lot of different people, and it was
Yes.
great. It's like, well, you guys had a lot of good people on.
Yeah, it's happening. When it's happening, it's happening, and I love my monologues. Because they give me a, a an
I was hoping,
opportunity.
I was hoping you were going to come out to the Liqueur Gallery. I did a little post about it with Dalton Portello was there, and
Yeah,
Chris
I was there,
LaCour.
but I was there early with my son.
Oh, I
Yeah,
missed you.
I think I left at 6:15, and we came back
Oh,
five
yeah.
thirty.
So we were like ships in the night passing. I stopped over at the Art Depot first,
I
and
did too. Yeah.
yeah, and then I was hanging out with Donna Corby, and then when she closed up, John, and I went over to the court, but it was after the Art Depot closed up, and then we went over. So yeah, I missed you. I
Yeah, she had a
but
good show there at the depot. Very nice. I'm very impressed.
yeah, I like her a lot. The thing about curating. So yeah, but you asked me, what have I got doing? I'm actually about to hop in my car and drive into the city. We're doing auditions for a play, and also Eddie Redmayne, the lead actor in Cabaret, that I'm a little bit of a part of. I've got some shares of it. That he's leaving. He's kind of finished his time, and then though Alan Cummings isn't. I would love to get Alan Cummings to come back. Other people are going to be taking Eddie Redmayne's place is in Cabaret on Broadway. So I'm going in to just be a part of that. And then I've got two other things, and then I run back. I live on the Long Island Expressway. I'm so sick of driving back and forth and back and forth.
I hope you have
But
a good car to drive in. So
yeah, I got the Jeep. I put the top down. I blast the stereo,
good.
and or else I just stay completely silent, and
Yeah.
I use the Long Island Expressway for like my place, like a garden to go meditate in. I just go into this kind of meditation, driving along
Oh
and
boy.
sorting out all my thoughts. So by the time I land in the city, I'm kind of quiet and peaceful.
Oh yeah, I tell you, from 1983 to 1990, I think I drove about, I'm not kidding you, probably 150,000 miles just on the highway.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with going to New York. You know, I didn't want to live. I lived in New York for a short while, but I had a place I could use, a Sutton Place, and that was a joy. And so then all I wanted to do is check out all the legends that I grew up on in music and in art, and and suddenly I'm in New York. So I was in disbelief for the first decade.
Well, listen, if you were over at Sutton Place, I'm kind of the extension of Sutton Place, just a little lower. I'm a Beekman and 50th, so I go 10 yards and I go down the stairs and I go across it to the waterfront and overlooking the
Yes, yes,
Hudson
of
River
course.
sign and the bridge. It's so gorgeous and peaceful. It's like another world. Once you get to the east side of First Avenue, you're in this quiet,
Yes.
other kind of peaceful
Oh
place.
yeah.
Yeah.
And please don't tell people about it because it is quiet there. We don't want them there.
Oh, that's true, right?
Shit.
Yeah. Don't.
Because I used to, the 57 and First was, we had a duplex there,
Yeah.
early 80s, and so the whole floor. It was just like you walk for 3 minutes and then you need to until you get to the other end. But it was an experience and a half for me. It was awesome. It wasn't that I was taken by luxury. I mean, I knew luxury. I lived in Paris for 3 years. Believe me, I knew luxury. It wasn't my own luxury, but I had a part in it. So yeah, it was all about living up the dream of that which I experienced
You and I
remotely.
have some. That's funny. You and I, the conversation, the parallels in our lives. I kept a little place in Saint Germain des Prés and Battesis Rue de Seine, in Saint Germain,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was but it wasn't luxury. It was a tiny little. It was like a little apartment. It had one of the elevators that only like one person could go in. You
What did
know,
they say? Saint-Germain-des-Prés.
to play. Yeah, and I loved it. Right around from the little church, and then there was the drugstore that they used in
Oh yeah.
Clockwork Orange. It's but I loved it. But so and I for a couple of years I was dating a really beautiful French girl. So I kept that. It was a nice lifestyle. L.A. That in the film industry, and then over to Paris and back and forth. So, but then that was a real luxury that I didn't need to keep going. So I've
Yes.
had
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I had it for like 2 years. But it really was lovely when I would go there.
Yeah, when I finished the army service, I went directly to Europe. And one of these trips, I ended up in Paris. I got a job to drive a truck in Paris, and just delivering televisions and many things like that. So the younger son of my boss was accompanying me because I didn't know anything about Paris and all this, but I knew something about driving. And
Yeah.
we had the fun of our lives. We had the fun. We used to drive to Lyon and to Marseille we used to be just free spirits, and we used to check all the music, and his brother treated us for the greatest treats you can imagine. We were like 21. And then directly from there in 23, I arrived to New York. So when I arrived to New York, I was taken by the enormity of the highways, of the cars. Then you remember the cars in 1983? The smallest car was like a tank. It
Oh, the
was
beginning of the '80s, the cars were huge.
insane,
Yeah.
and then when arriving to New York, and New York was so dirty and so noisy, but I loved it. And it was like homeless people and drugs everywhere. It was absolutely deliciously dangerous. It was
And
like
I
I
had a loft on Canal Street and West Broadway. It was a Knickerbocker candy factory, and I invited people to come down, and lived there with me, and said, "Look, let's take this walk. We'll clean it up." And I would take them down and show it to them. Like, Greg, you can't live there. This place is disgusting. And they just didn't have the vision. But it took me a lot of money, and a couple of months. But I renovated the whole place, gutted it out, sandblasted walls, put in a wonderful kitchen and bathroom, and then later, of course, after I finished renovating and brought people back, they go, "Oh, I'll live here now." And I was like, you know something, I don't need you. I don't need a roommate anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
But
of
I
course.
loved it. The Mud Club and AM PM. The '80s was really kind of. I enjoyed the '80s. And then,
Yes, of course, me too. I used
yeah.
to. I was homeless for about 3 weeks, and so I worked on 8th Street and First and 6th Avenue, in a clothing store, and they really liked me. They I worked from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then I was staying at Borough Park in Brooklyn, which I decided that I'm not going back there anymore. So there was a gap of 3 weeks that I was actually having my suitcases at the store where I worked. And at 9 o'clock, I used to do my tour until the following morning at 11, which is like 10 hours. So for 10 hours, I was like I was doing the late night jam session at the Blue Note. So I was
Cool.
saving. Yeah, I used to make $32 a day. So I used to save $15 for cocktails for for the Blue Note. The Blue Note started at 1 a.m. and went all the way to almost 4 a.m. And then
And
4 a.m. I would go to Minetta Lane, the off Broadway theater there in Minetta
that little
Lane.
theater, Manila Lane, love it.
Yeah,
Love
so
that
I
theater.
had I had
The
my
tiny little street.
I had a cardboard with my name on it there in the corner where I used to sleep. And I used to sleep from like 4 to 6, 7. I used to go to this diner on 6th Avenue and 7th Street or something, and spend my last $10 for the most glorious breakfast and sit there until 11 o'clock where I had to go to work. And in between, I used to walk from 6th Avenue and 10th Street all the way to 105th and Broadway. Walk all the way up, and then go all the way to the West Highway and take like 10th Avenue or whatever it is that was there, coming down all the way to the West Village. What do you call it? The uh, um, Broadway Avenue South or something, where they had Sweet Basil and the Village Vanguard, and so I used to come down all the way 100 blocks. So that's what I used to do. And these were times where you could really get killed walking around at night.
When are you going to release your book? I mean, you are doing a book about your life. It's too interesting. And you were at the Blue Note. Blue Note, how famous is that? And Bob Dylan, his first performance is in New York at the Blue Note. But what a historic place! And I love that little Minetta Lane thing. So that you were hanging out there
Oh yeah,
in the '80s.
everybody knew me there. I was like, it was 3 weeks, but it felt like eternity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Definitely felt like eternity. But I had my crash course on how to, even though I was kind of a good-looking guy, young guy, but I had this demeanor where I could put a face expression, and I bought this raincoat for $5, plastic raincoat. If you put it on, it looks like you better stay away from me. I mean, I got nothing to lose, and it worked. It worked. Yeah, I know. Can you believe
I
it?
got nothing to lose. I'm the kind of guy you want to stay away from.
Yeah, I don't even have to open my mouth or argue or make my case. I'm just like, but also I was a great runner. I was actually semi-professional long distance runner, and so I mean, if there was a problem, I can pick up and run, and you got to be an Olympic athlete to catch up with me. So there's no way if I sense danger. For example, I used to cross um, um, the Central Park. In 1983, 84, it was dangerous day or night in Central Park.
Yeah.
So at night, what I used to do, because I had to go from Columbus and 85th, cross all the way to go to 57th and First. Okay, so believe it or not, I used to take 86 and Central Park West, the entrance to the to the park. Yeah.
And walk across the
No
street.
walk. I used to run like a
Right?
madman. I used to run just crossing it from west to east. I said, anybody who wants to hurt me, he wouldn't even see me coming or going. I was so fast. I would just like sprint it, And that was stupid, but I did it. I don't know. So that was the name of the game. So and
the things we do and things we've done.
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So
But
so
you but you have you've lived your life with no fear. I mean, you are fearless. You just go out there and live it to go to the edge. God bless you.
yeah, my life changed a lot now. But now it doesn't matter really if you're that kind of person that you describe. It doesn't matter what you're engaged in. These features will come, will show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the same. And I have a feeling that you really don't look for too many excuses to do meaningful things. You don't have to kind of, yeah, you're not the type of guy that will. I mean, technically speaking, you're going to prepare, but you won't have to kind of restart and reboot the whole system every time you decide to do something. You know what I mean? You're like in an ongoing, again, straightforward. Speaking of straightforward, so we're back to it. So
Yeah.
you that type, I wish you could be a little more aware of it because I think you deserve a little more credit from yourself. Forget about people. Um, and then this is a great way to do it. There's nothing wrong. Before I called you, I was talking about how you end up in a narcissistic situation when you have nothing to do with narcissism. You know what I mean? How you can
Yeah.
be tricked by Mother Nature into that people would think you're narcissistic, and then you're not in the mood to explain how wrong they are. So then they end up thinking, okay, here's the narcissistic individual is approaching us now, so beware. He's talking too
Yeah.
much, and
You
usually
wish you
about
wish there's a
himself.
little sign going off on top of their head so you could spot them.
Yeah, he talks a lot, but we don't have a problem with that. But he talks a lot about himself.
Yeah.
Listen, if I was passionate and I saw you, and I know that you and I are in the same trade, the same kind of artistic demeanor and engagement, and I have some discoveries or some things and experience in that, and something happened because I'm active. Of course, I'll tell you, hey, Greg, listen. By the way, I gotta have some suggestions for you, some shortcuts. The other day, I did this, I did that, and guess what? I found out this, I found out that, and then before you know it, for half an hour, I'm talking to you, and it sounds suddenly you feel like I'm preaching you. At the first 10 minutes, you're saying, oh, thank you. I never knew about that. I will definitely check it. And then half hour later, you say, well, can someone come and stop this guy? But again, I'm going to go back to saying it's out of love. And for me, I don't go halfway. I want to just, if I introduce the package, I want to give you the whole package.
So okay, yeah, you circle back to that topic, out of love, doing things out of love. I But again, things that places where you and I are alike. But everything I do is somehow doing something for somebody else or doing something for to be a benefit someplace or useful or I don't know contributing. I guess that's out of love. I don't do anything. And I should be more selfish than I am, but I don't. But that selfishness isn't necessarily doing things out of. Is it doing something out of love for yourself? Is selfishness doing? Can you justify selfishness as well? I'm doing something because for love of myself, of my, I don't know. Um, I said talk about abstract things. Uh, do it how you do things for love, and then what you would do that would not be for love and hate. I don't know, but the things you do for love. What I did for everything comes back to music for me. What I did for love. I forgot where that was from. But anyway, that topic of love, and you were talking to a narcissist about that.
Yes. The thing is, yeah, because the thing is that, the whole concept of me, myself, and I
Yeah.
is in the Kabbalah. They will tell you a lot about it. They can talk about this particular thing for 6 months nonstop. Me, myself, and I is like if you don't have yourself available to you, then who do you have available to you? You know, so that me, myself, and I is more like, listen, you want me to be able to take care of you. You want me to be able to carry on the burden of supporting you. You want me to show you that I can fulfill my journey and my task in life. Let's say if I'm your dad, if I'm your this and that, a good friend or whatever, then you have to allow me to do that. You cannot not allow me to do that. You cannot offer opinions for the sake of opinions, and you cannot take any risks in any shape, way, or form to slow me down. Because you slow me down, you're slowing down my effort to take care of you. That's my point. So now, just imagine it's not like you're going to introduce this argument once and then you're okay. You have to introduce this argument every time. Now, who has the patience or the memory even to? It's insane
Yeah.
because you in the company of. Someone to pick up artwork. Oh, okay, I'm coming. Yes. Um, yeah, I'm. Just give me a second. I'm going to put some music. Don't go away, okay?
Okay.
Because I just need a minute here.
Yeah,
And I
you
have
got
this
me.
music. I don't know. I think you're gonna hear it. You're gonna hear it by. Can you hear the music?
No.
Okay. The music is running. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go away.
Okay. I'm staying right here.
Okay, we're back here.
Are you on the air? Well, you
Yeah.
even come.
Let me just do this because there's some artists that came to pick up their work, and I had to just have them sign the release. So yeah, in so every time, early on in my process, and probably you'll be able to relate to it, I had discoveries on daily basis. It was like I wasn't married, no children, nothing. I was just like I need to catch up. I was 36, 37 years old when I first started painting. So I said, you know what? No. I was afraid of being ridiculed or being made fun of or anything. It scared me to death because I knew that I was at the very, very, very early stages of becoming a painter. I knew that this is going to be my life, my life, period. I knew it. I knew it. I felt it. So immediately I tackled the issue of how I'm going to go about it. And so then, therefore, it made sense that every day I had discoveries because every day I was engaged fully in researching and experimenting all this. So then I was surrounded by friends that were artists. It's just that I was never an artist myself per se. I mean, a painter. I was a musician. I was a poet, but no. So then I would join them and say, "You won't believe what happened to me today. I did this. I did that." And then, okay, so people were intrigued by it. Okay, it's just like I would be intrigued if someone can come and tell me something that then later on I would say thank you. That was like really very generous because he's just discovered to me something that I can conserve my energy, save time, things like that. And
Yeah.
it's so easy. It was right in front of you. You never noticed it. Okay, so this doesn't exist. So I thought I'm actually holier than thou, and I can help everyone just by telling them the stories of what I'm going through. But quickly enough, I lost track of the extent of my passion.
Yeah.
And I realized, well, I realized I didn't realize that I was too much. Lucky for me. But what I realized is what I'm doing is causing a too much of a situation. I'm not a too much kind of guy. But what I'm doing, the way I'm doing it, is causing that too muchness to be present. And
Uh,
therefore, everyone is overwhelmed. But people saw it only one way. And one way was, this guy is too much. Okay? And then I quickly enough realized the difference between the two and realized what's really on the surface with people. So just as much as I was all over the place, I abruptly stopped doing it altogether. Altogether.
yeah.
Because it caused too much trouble. People thought I'm narcissistic. People thought my self consciousness would be more like he loves himself too much and he talks about how he is doing, how that doing, and I didn't want to have any part in it. So you know what? I became so quiet, so much so that people used to suddenly come to me and say, "What's up with your silence? Well, how come you haven't been sharing with us lately?" And all this. I said, "I don't know. I'm just taking a little break here.
Uh,
I'm tired of running in the central piazza and say, 'Hey, gather, people. I have treasures for you. Give me a chance. Give me a minute of your time. I will enlighten you.'" So it's over. Now I lead by example. you know. So and you know that. I mean, tell people about the necessity of that level of conviction to do what you're doing and what I'm doing. Come on, tell, please. I urge you.
so okay, so I'm happy to, but what is it you want me to tell you?
About what it takes to carry on with what we're doing to make it happen.
Oh God,
Your production, your engagement, your level of dedication, even when it comes to simple trivial things. It doesn't have to be, the piece of the century. Tell people,
the
please share.
one of the you mentioned. By the way, you gave me I'm going to trust you that I trust you more than me that the correct pronunciation of the Kabbalah. I've always said Kabbalah, but that's but I've loved following different theologies, and one of them I love the Tao, and I think it's Tao number 8 says that the superior man nerves himself to ceaseless activity, and that speaks to your question here. It's just it's ceaseless activity. I'm just constantly doing something. It doesn't matter. The only thing I don't like is that I seem to be rushing all the time. I don't want to. I want to kind of slow that down. But I take on more than I can chew. But then by uh, by doing that, I wind up being an overachiever. But I just wind up having to always being giving my. I put myself in that position where I'm always a little bit behind and got to catch up, and it keeps me moving quickly, but it keeps me doing so much. And people like you even said, "How you're all over the place? You keep doing so much, you're so productive." Well, I know I just keep myself in a little bit of level of discomfort. I don't ever want to get too comfortable. And when I was and every time I'm in any kind of transition, I definitely don't want to be comfortable. I don't even want to live in a place like you were talking about Minetta Lane and living on the street there for a while. But part of that has a value. It forces you to live at a frequency of life where you it's talk about selfishness, but or uh, being greedy, but I love life and I love doing as much as I can and being as productive as I can. So I'm always in the middle of something. I'm usually in the middle of two or three things. Like right now, right now, you should see my workspace. I've got the TV on the left, and that's actually tuned to LTV. In front of me, I've got three screens. I got my laptop. I've got a bigger screen on top of it, and then another screen that I turn vertically. And on the one screen, the big one in the front, I've got a Final Cut Pro open with a video that I'm editing, and that's going up on LTV with Jimmy Grimes,
Uh-huh.
the guy. He's he's one of the greatest historians in Montauk, and I did this piece with him where he just talks about the beginnings of Montauk, and then I'm downloading photographs to illustrate whatever he's talking about, whether it be the Indians or bootlegging or any of the stuff that he mentions in the piece. So I've got that on my big monitor. On the left side, I've got my emails open, and it's a vertical monitor, so I can open it long so I can see all of my emails, because I hate scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and missing things. And then on the monitor on my laptop that's open, I've got a thing that I'm doing there. I'm writing a piece about something, so I've got that open. But it's I've got like three things going on my computer in front of me at the same time. And but so the process for me is just like I said, I never want to. I get anxious if I get comfortable if I'm not doing anything. I just I live at but you do too. I'm living at this kind of frequency where you're always kind of living on the edge a little bit, pressing yourself a little bit harder. And like I said, and I think the stuff that I get out of talking to you, Haim, is you're saying that I don't give myself, I don't view myself in ways that I might benefit from. I think because I'm always pushing myself so hard, I don't get a chance to reflect quite enough on who I am and what I'm doing. Where I'm so busy being me that I don't get a chance to look at who I am, and which you need to do. You need to reflect on yourself and kind of have a minute or two to look in the mirror and say, okay, who am I? How am I doing? What am I doing? So I'm usually don't give myself enough chance to do that. But again, at the same time, I'm always producing, cranking out something. So I hope that answers the question a little
Yes,
bit.
it is, and the what I'm trying to say is and not well. It's just that I think other people won't really notice it so much because they don't know you well. I know you well, and I know what you're all about, so it's evident to me. But it won't be so evident. But it's like I care for you. It's like I tell you, listen, you can really get so much more by putting yourself first sometimes, and putting you first as number one. When you have numbers and when you have a chart and when you have a daily routine, you should start with yourself first. Feed yourself, bathe yourself, treat yourself. You know what I mean? And briefly, but something. But it's got to be you. And then suddenly you will think about yourself a little more than you usually are, and uh, and that gives. And that gives a little more beef into the ordeals of your engagement and investment and actual actual how curiosity is creating the material that you examine and edit at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
That you there you go. You did it again. Your finger on the right on the. You don't put your finger on the head. Don't hit your finger on the nail on the head. You put your finger on it. I'm sorry, but there I find when I am creating and editing, and that's actually when I get to reflect on myself a little bit in my writing, like you with your art. When I'm writing something, and and the way the words will come out, kind of wordsmithing and the phrasing, but as much as the actual the mechanism of using and how to use words to express myself in the things that I am writing, the terms by which I see the world and then write about it through those terms. That's when I kind of discover myself a little bit. So look how how I'm seeing things, and then so even I just did a little thing about the they had down in Uline's Marina, they had the Montauk Grand Slam fishing tournament. So I went down there, and I love Henry. What a cool guy. I love this guy, and Henry July. So I'm down there, and I'm doing a video. I did a video of it for them. No one had been doing that. I said, look, I'll video for you. So I go down there and I'm videoing it, and then I came back, and the video is like 2 hours. So I'm not going to cut that down to edit. I don't have time for that. But I did grab a lot of still shots about it, and then I put it up on my little Montauk Live TV Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote something about it. But then, so when I'm writing the text that goes with a visual, with a post of photographs, or when I'm writing something that goes with a video that I've produced, that's when I would find the mirror of myself and say, "Oh, look how I wrote that." Sometimes, sometimes I write something and I look back at it and I'll read it back 3 or 4 times and say, "Hey, shit, did I write that?" It's like, who wrote that? I got to charge that guy rent in my head. It's like this other person, and I'll read it back. I say, "Oh, look at that. That was nice the way you wrote that."
And that
So,
should be with the small and the big things, with the significant and non-significant. It's throughout all your daily engagement.
well, it should be. Like I said, most of the time I'm cranking stuff out at a high speed so I don't get a chance. But when I'm writing something, it forces me to look at it, read it again and again, and wordsmith it a little bit, change things, and then I find wonderful peace in that. Writing is a meditation for me. Writing anything. Getting lost in the words of how to express things, and then realizing, okay, you're expressing things by how you're seeing them, and again, by the terms by which you see things. That's why narcissists kind of a little tough, because you're looking at things through the way you are, but a narcissist is they're going to take everything you say and they're going to transform it into the way they see things.
Well, it depends
And
what level of narcissism. But once narcissism is under discussion, it's usually not a good thing. I mean, that's what we need to keep in mind.
that's
Because
never good.
it's not like a title of honor. So, but I can show you, for example, if I want to show up, I will tell you that here I'm going to recite a very small poem that really is nothing. It came out of nothing, for nothing, because of nothing, about nothing, and pretty much like the woof and right there, and it's done. And then you can also take it and throw it to the garbage, or and take it and crown it as the king and the queen together. You can do whatever you want, but as long as you have the poem in your hand. So it says, in the shelter of wisdom beneath the darkened skies, past shadows move slowly, casting their eerie guise. Bravery cloaked in a trance, leading us to stray, pulled by the dance of lost, and triumph in its sway. In the depth where vulnerabilities reside, an invitation to introspect, to seek, to confide. An offer extended, amplified, at least the impact, navigating the maze of bold personas intact. No search for the counsel, no tales to share, just essence, free from weight or wear. Confidence whispers a promise near. Did you catch the echo of what I've made clear? Anyway, so this is, you can take something which is really nothing, because what happens is, if you're a poet that thinks alternatively as I do, you gather something, and then when you're ready, because you have something to start with, you realize you have absolutely nothing. Absolutely. So therefore, you don't automatically dump the phrase or whatever it is that you gathered, upon which you made the decision and the discovery that you're ready, while you're not ready at all. But then at the end of the whatever you want to call it, you have this poem. Who will know? Who should know? What are the benefits of knowing and not knowing? These are questions that you don't need answers for, because the poem exists. And anybody who wants to have an opinion and to express that opinion should leave you out of this equation, because he would have to refer to the poem itself. You follow what I'm saying? So what happens is, you have something to show for that is so real and substantial, because it amounts to be that, that is just spares you from the grinding processes that are taking place as a given all the time, because you're spared by being out of the equation because you already did your work. Now it's the crowd's job to try and make sense and to go through whatever they want to go through and whatever. It's out of your hands because you send it forth. Period. So that's straightforward motion with that, in a way, keeping a straight face through the process, therefore prevailing is a guarantee. But let me just mention, because we're nearing a conclusion of this show, that Greg Sullivan is here with us on Monday, July 22nd, year 2024, here with the Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi. And so I'll give you the last word as far as tell us what's up for you, what's coming your way, and what are your immediate engagement under discussion.
Well, I mentioned that we're about to announce the new lead in Cabaret now that Eddie Redmayne is finishing his time in there, and then I've got my little Montauk live TV things that I'm posting all kinds of live streams on to just for the people in town. But then and then next weekend is polo. I'll be at I'm going to. You want to come to the polo matches with me next weekend?
I can join you maybe once, yes.
Yeah, that'd be
nice.
fun.
Where is it, Southampton?
Yeah. For Bridgehampton on Lumber Lane. You know?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Always a fun event, Yeah. I'm always running into people I know. And I sometimes go to these things just because it's nice to see who's there and run into people you haven't seen that you only see once a year. It's like the Hampton Film Festival. There are people I only see once a year, but we're good friends for years. But we only see each other at certain events.
Yeah, or maybe maybe you and I will interview people while we are arguing with one another. That would be good, no?
That'd be fun.
Anyway, hey, thanks for your friendship. Thanks for taking the time to be with me here on the show.
Hey, thank you, man. You're a hero for me.
And you're enlightening the process, and I wish for you to have the energy and the strength to continue to do what you're doing. These are the things that people, society, the world cannot argue with, because we always have something new to show for. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
And here's the last word. You, my friend, are on the leading edge of thought. Oh. And I'm fascinated with that. You are on the leading edge of thought all the time. I love that.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate that. And I'm going to say we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here this morning/afternoon. Monday morning, July 22nd, year 2024. And again, thank you to my guest, special guest, Greg Sullivan. And we know you're out there doing your job, and we're thanking you for that. And it doesn't go unnoticed. And so many art activities that I'm going to talk about later on here at LTV. We're getting ready for new displays of Dan Belden and the prints and the this and the that. I'm just a million things, but you will definitely know more details about it. Again, thank you, Greg, and we'll see you soon, huh?
Great. Talk to you later, buddy.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Bye for now.